Apple shares popping on better than expected earnings now at the after-hours highs. CNBC's Julia Boorstin following the after-hours action. She also just spoke with Tim Cook. Julia, what's the latest?
That's right, Melissa. Shares up nearly 5% after Apple reported a record quarter driven by iPhone strength. The company beat expectations for every single one of its divisions except for iPads. Those did face particular supply constraints. Overall revenue grew a better than expected 11% to $123.9 billion. That's ahead of the $118.7 billion that analysts estimated. Earnings per share of $2.10 beat estimates of $1.89. I spoke to CEO Tim Cook. He told me that iPhone sales were strongest in the last 2 weeks of the quarter, though not a surprise. He said it does bode well for momentum. I also asked him about particular strength in China. He said, quote, "We grew 21% in China, which we're very proud of. It was an all-time revenue record for us in the country. We had a very strong customer response to the iPhone 13 family, and in particular, we set a record number of upgraders in China." When I asked about inflationary pressures and plans to raise prices, Cook said, quote, "We try to price our products for the value that we deliver, and we are seeing inflationary pressure. I think everyone's seeing inflationary pressure. There's no two ways about that." He did say that they believe that they expect supply chain constraints to be less in the March quarter than they were in the December quarter. So we'll be listening for more insight on the March quarter on the earnings call. That call did just get underway, Melissa.
All right. Keep us posted, Julia. Thank you, Julia Boorstin. So the concerns going into the quarter, whether it be China, whether it be supply chain issues affecting how many iPhones it could deliver, other products, all of those concerns have been dashed so far, Guy. What do you make of this quarter?
Unfounded, as they say. And that's a remarkable quarter. If you look at Greater China, it was up 21% year over year in terms of revenue. I mean, it was great. Operating margins better. Macs are still killing us. Say what you want. It's still a bit of a hardware company. So here's what I'll say. I'm wrong all the time, as you've come to learn over the last north of a decade. But this one I think we got right in terms of levels. You know, we've been saying for a while that Apple should trade back to the prior all-time high made in September of last year of about 157. And if you go back a week or so ago, that's exactly what we did. So I think, one, you absolutely now have something to trade against on the downside, as we've pointed out. And two, I think you're going to see sort of a run back to that prior all-time high. I will say this. If you're looking for one potential negative, and this is a nitpick, so I'm sorry, it's that services revenue only comprised about 15.7% of overall revenue. Now, you can say that's because they had a huge revenue beat. I get it. But I think if you're looking for something to be negative about, that's trending in the wrong direction.
Is that a concern of yours, Karen? And what are you looking for on this conference call? We've seen time and time again, and I'm not saying this time it's going to be the same. Apple goes higher on the back of results. Something said in the conference call, it reverses those gains.
Right. I think, they want to err to be conservative. But there was, as Guy said, a lot to really like about this quarter. I mean, so many things could have gone wrong that didn't go wrong. And the size of the beat, I thought, was pretty impressive. The margin's impressive. So the question now becomes, what is the right PE multiple? And then you get back to Guy's question, what is the mix of hardware and software? And is 7, 8, wherever it is that the right multiple in this environment? I don't know, but I do know that I want to stay long because I don't know if that multiple is a little bit high or a little bit low. And I think that the momentum that they have, I'm very happy with that. We'll see what they do with capital allocation later in the year. Cash flow was very, very strong. So I think there's a lot to like. The story is as good as it's been. And I think that the environment we're in is just as important right now as what Apple's earnings are. So I hope that they can help stabilize this market somewhat, even though I don't think there's a lot of, pure comps. One thing I did notice that was interesting today, Louis Vuitton, giant earnings in the luxury space. So people are spending on expensive things. Maybe that's part of what happened here. I like it. I'm staying long. And, I don't know how it trades tomorrow. I feel like tomorrow's a lifetime from here with this market, but I'm staying long.
I mean, the price of an iPhone pales in comparison to a wallet, even, as Brian Kelly well knows. But forced to choose, BK, is Apple's valuation here, based on what you heard so far on the quarter and on on the future from Tim Cook. Is the valuation too high or too low?
So I'm not sure about the valuation, but the price is probably too low because the sentiment on the negative side is probably overdone. So to me, what this quarter said is, number one, demand is still there. And to Karen's point, you saw that in the Louis Vuitton numbers as well. Secondarily, if you can get the supply chain constraints out of the way, you can sell a lot of product. And that's what Apple showed me. So from a sentiment perspective, it says, hey, wait a second. You know, we know that Omicron slowed the economy, but there's still demand there. So internally, I've got good news. And then if I brought it out to the broader economy, it says to me, we have probably reached max recession fears. And this might be enough sentiment-wise to start flipping the pendulum in the other way.
This 5% gain after hours, by the way, is adding $125 billion in market cap to Apple. Dan Nathan, do we put the party hats on now? Did Apple just save the NASDAQ trade? Did it just save big tech? Did it just save the economy, if we want to extrapolate like BK is extrapolating?
You know, Mel, it might have saved it for just a little bit here. And I think these guys make all great points. There's really nothing to kind of look at the fundamentals of that quarter. What we know was a very challenging quarter for many companies that kind of, you know, transact or manufacture globally, and their, you know, parts are coming from all over the place. So they did a great job. I will say that, you know, Western Digital, you know, is saying very different things right now on their call about supply chains. And we know that Apple is obviously, you know, first in line when it comes to supply chains and product and that sort of thing, and they have the ability to squeeze their suppliers. So listen, it was a great quarter. I mean, in a difficult environment, and you think about it, just look at that chart and overlay it against the NASDAQ 100, that it makes up 12% of that index of 100 stocks. It was only down 10% from its recent all-time highs, while the NASDAQ 100 was down 17 or 18% at its lows this week. So I think investors were expecting a decent quarter and whatever they have to say about visibility right here. So you tell me how the market shakes out. I don't think it can save the market, but that coupled with Microsoft certainly, you know, if you're worried about the concentration in the major indices, then it should make you feel okay. But then your other question is 28, 29 times. This is a company that is not expected to grow a whole heck of a lot this year, low single digits in earnings and sales, trading about 28, 29 times. They bought back nearly $15 billion in their own stock. So they're kind of, you know, it's helping a little bit on the earnings front here. So I don't know. I mean, I don't really think it's that compelling at this moment, because I think you probably have lower lows in the market. And the last thing I'll just say, and I'm shocked that BK didn't take that, because I know what you were doing for him with that wallet. They have 1.5 billion iOS, you know, users, and Tim Cook has said that they might think about how to integrate crypto into some of the stuff that they're doing. So wallets, NFTs, I mean, you want to grow services, think about the revenues that like OpenSea is doing and that sort of thing. So that can be coming in a theater near you in 2022 with Apple.
There is also, of course, the Bloomberg report about Apple entering the payment space with an app which would basically supplant Block Square, which is the little device that relies on the iPhone in order for small businesses, merchants to use, Karen. Obviously, that would be a concern to Block, still getting used to saying that, but it could be a great thing for Apple.
Right. It could, right? The dongle, I think it's called. And so the dongle itself isn't really, that's, you know, that's the razor. And all of the software services that go along with it, payments and all of the things they do to help small businesses, that's the razor blade. So that's the part that Apple wants to get. Yeah, I mean, I think Block should be down, just a terrible pun, chipped a little bit on the block, because I think this is a potential threat, and that's a fantastic business for them, for Block, and it could be for Apple as well. So I'd be a little concerned.
I mean, this goes to the reason why I bring that up, Guy, obviously, is Dan's point. What is it priced for in terms of the growth? But what are the other potential growth areas that Apple may not already be in and may get into fairly easily that could move the needle?
And that's what people are banking on, right? That's why they're now trading as a value stock. They're trading with a growth multiple, which is something we've talked about for a while, maybe justifiably so. And in terms of potentially the existential risk to Square or Block or SQ, because I have trouble remembering things, got to think to yourself, maybe it's priced in. I mean, this was a $290 stock not so long ago, now trading $105. And, you know, we talked about this years ago that maybe it made sense for Apple to buy Square. Well, that ship has sailed. But I think in terms of what it means for SQ, the stock, I think it's priced in. All that said, and I hear what Dan is saying, you know, probably fade this rally. I don't know. I'm not convinced. I've seen this movie enough times to understand that off quarters like this, there's going to be some more momentum to the upside.